Hey everyone, before this video plays, I want to preference beforehand. At the time, I was heated at the moment. I was a little bit pissed off about situations, but now, after a good 24 to 48 hours after everything's been cleaned up and everything like that, I want to preference that I'm not bashing anyone in this video. It seems like I am, but I'm not. I am just venting my thoughts and talking with Alfonso about things and just, venting my thoughts. I want to get y'all's feedback on what I think or no, what you think about our opinions, or not just our opinions, but what I put out there, because it's very opinionated based on who says what and who does what. This may be like public to everyone, like Wednesday or maybe this evening, Monday, but I'm working on getting all this rolling out. So because I flabbered about Brooks a little too much in my live stream Sunday night, on with the video.
So, without that after ado, speaking of bipolar stuff and depression, it does suck. And, even if you're not bipolar, mental breakdowns suck. The worst thing to do is to live stream, even if you have a mental breakdown. Now, there's a lot that I'm thinking about right now that I can't completely go into details because it involves, people that are associated with it or have connections with it. Otherwise, the public eye does not need to know about it. But it lit a fire under my ass to really go after some people. Now, I'm not going to name anyone here, but you know who you are. And I sent out a very cryptic message earlier today. Love being used. You know who you are. And I'm pretty sure some people got curious at what the fuck that meant. Well, there was an issue that went down that started about yesterday, and that said issue fired into today and really got shitty. I don't care who is doing what or what is going on, but if you're above legal age of majority within your country or state or province or territory, your parents should not really directly have the say so over what you do with your technology or what you do on the internet, as you are under the legal law of an adult. So if you get yourself into hot water, you pay for the consequences of the threshold of the law in your distribution or district or wherever you reside in. Now, I have seen this countless time and time again, where I'm seeing adult parents that are either they can take care of someone, either they're mentally not there, they physically can't really think for themselves, or they can't react on certain things for themselves. But I'm seeing it more and more common now these days, where you have parents taking so much control over a child, and this is really common in the blind community, where the child can think about what they need to think about and what they can do and think and how to budget and do other stuff perfectly fine like a normal person, but yet the parent wants to take full control over the said child that is now an adult. Either they're in their upper teens, like 19, or hell, if we want to go further, 21 and older. I see a lot of control where our parents are taking a lot of control and controlling what the person does, who they can date, who they can hang out with, and what they can do. Now, this is my thoughts. I think it's bullshit. If you're capable of making thoughts for yourself or thinking for yourself and doing things in society for yourself, then you're able to balance checkbooks and live life and take care of yourself with assistance or without assistance, then you are fine. But if you cannot do any of that I said, well, then I completely understand. What is your thoughts on this, Mr. Alfonso?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it when it comes to that. If you don't have you're not completely there, you really don't have control. Obviously, like you kind of need that extra layer of protection and control because you really could fuck yourself over because you don't know what you're doing and you're not really capable of processing a lot of the shit in the world. That's fine. When your faculties are completely in check and you're an adult and you know what you're doing, just it's your life. No one's responsible for what you do except for you.
Exactly. Now, people will say, oh, if this said adult that is no longer a child, we'll take a blind person, or a person that has another disability, needs to be in a wheelchair or something. Maybe their legs don't work or something. But we'll use blindness for now because I'm more coherent towards that. I live a blind style life of visually impaired. Now, if the child is now, say, 20, 25, somewhere in that, 20 to 30, we'll give that age range. And because they're blind, they live at their parents' home. There are housekeeping rules that I completely understand and obey and completely get. Like, make sure you don't have friends over, having a party, smoking weed and drinking and starting fights at my house when I'm gone. Or don't be having sex in the backyard. Or, something stupid like that.
Yeah, your folks' rules are your folks' rules. You got, as long as you're under your folks' roof, you got to abide by those rules. But there's a certain extent to
There's a
where that's
certain line.
right.
Now, when a person wants to date someone on the internet, and I'm fine with long distance relationships as long as they can make it work and eventually meet in person and, happy go lucky, get married soon and, have a best life. If your match is on the internet and then y'all make it to where y'all can meet in person and actually live your happy life, that's you. You do as you.
I ain't gonna judge about it personally, not for me. But if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Exactly. I'm that way where I'm not going to judge. It may not work for me, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. I've never tried it, so I'm not going to sit there and judge it. But if a parent is going to sit there and say, oh, you can't be in this said group with these said people or have this said thing tied, with a connection with a Apple ID, or you can't do this certain thing on your phone. That is a little too far. That I consider dictatorship, and that is a boundary that strikes a nerve with me to the point that you want more control. You're just power hungry over taking over someone in their asshole. What's your thoughts on that now that I brought in that?
It's just unnecessary. When you're at that certain point in your life, right? You don't really need that kind of shit. I mean, like, I understand, like, you live with your parents, like, abide by their rules, but most people, and I'm being general here, most people recognize that at that point in your life, you're beyond trivial shit like that.
And I will cut this live stream down. I'll pull it down and download it, and then cut this part out so we have a full copy replay that will premiere later on in the week. So, because this live stream was so dragged out, so people can get to the actual meat and potatoes of why I am done with certain parents and why certain people, I'm not even going to call them fucking parents, why half parents think they own the child that they did not conceive or have the sex to have that said child that now is an adult. Mm-hmm. Should a parent that has gotten in a divorce, Alfonso, and you went through this, so you know what this entails, and I'm not going to go into my past. I mean, you've kind of went public about it a little bit, but my parents are there. They remarried, so they were married to other people before I was born. But because of that fact, the statute of my life was both of my parents had me, but my mom had my sister from a different guy, and then my dad had my other sister from a different woman. Now, Should say in this case, a father come into the picture, get married to this woman, a stepfather, and try to take full control over a child? Yes or no?
No, that's not your kid. I understand being like more of a like taking on a parental position. It can in the under the circumstances this can be appropriate, but I don't think you should take full blown control over a child like a father, actual like their biological father would have, because that's not your kid. I'm all for like developing some sort of bond relationship, whatever have you, but no.
Now, what happens if that said child is in their 20s, about to be 30?
Well, that. I mean, like you're with your partner when they're not a child and they're not your priority. They're not your partner's priority at that point in their life. You really don't need to have a say when it comes to fucking anything. It's not your kid. They're old enough to make their own decisions. It's none of your damn concern, really. To be quite honest.
Now, as I have looked into some marriages and stuff like that, if the wife has custody over the child, the father can be the father in the home, but cannot be the father to discipline, aka spank, or do other shit to the child that could lead to abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I have noticed because, and that might be just in my household, but I've noticed that in a few other households.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know about you.
I mean, like, I haven't seriously noticed it, but I do know that that is a thing. That definitely does happen.
And the reason why I brought you on is because you come from a different culture. You come from a Spanish culture, and they do something different versus your typical American, well, half American
Your
culture.
typical, yeah, like your typical half full and blown American culture, which the culture shock is really weird for me in particular. I did grow up with two different cultures, Hispanic and American culture. But the thing is that my mom's family, they're a bunch of fucking rednecks, so it kind of blended well together, if that makes sense.
That's a combo.
Hispanic rednecks, that's my family for you. But regardless of that, it came as a real culture shock to me when I learned that people don't really hit their kids. That was a huge culture shock for me, to be completely honest, because
Yes, question
I see
mark.
that shit quite a lot. Um,
Message me out of the blue.
I mean,
Anyway,
like we had a full blown I had a full blown argument with these people because they were talking about something that this kid was doing, and I like he was doing something like really fucked up and was like messing with people. This kid was like 5, so he obviously wasn't like fully developed and didn't entirely know what he was doing. But based off the stuff he was doing, I literally was like, "That was my kid. I would beat the shit out of him." And people looked at me like I was a fucking like deranged, messed up fucking person. I'm like, "That's normal."
I know. In today's generation, you get looked at because the government has gotten in too far with children. The government has gotten in too far to tell you how to run your life, how to run your children, and how to do shit that the government says. Okay, if you're gonna abuse a child and abuse them in the way that you can whip them in an abuse way, that's when I have a problem. But if you're using it as a way to signal to the child that, hey, this is a no, don't be doing that, then I'm completely fine with that attitude.
Voiceover unmuted.
Here's how I personally define it.
Voiceover muted.
Abuse is when you hit a child excessively, when there is no lesson to be learned, no experience to be gained, none to be had, where it's just senseless. And the only reason you do it is because it grants you some sort of, I don't even know. Discipline is different. It's tough love. It teaches children what and what not to do. There's care to it, because obviously you don't want to like hurt your children. Besides, discipline doesn't have to just be like physical beatings or things like that. Like, people
No.
are often a lot more creative with that. And I see people, they act like disciplining your child is the worst thing ever, and it's like, no, it's not. It's
No,
completely,
it's no.
well, for me, it's completely normal to see.
Yeah, it's completely fine to see that, because that's discipline. That's teaching the child in its morals, the human in its morals, to behave, be better, be a respectful human in the future. Now, some children, it does the complete opposite. I completely understand that and completely get that. But I'm trying to draw a fine line with how step parents should not really have the say so or dictate what a adult, used to be a child in the household, can do or say to someone, or join certain said family plans or other services that someone lands out at offering hand for.
Mhm. I I it was weird because I had to again with the culture difference thing. It's like it's weird that I have to explain to people that um not a lot of Hispanic people are into like the whole being gay shit, because you know how many fucking times I see that with Hispanic people? Practically never.
That's
Uh,
one thing I got to give Hispanics credit there.
like they know how
I
to
mean,
raise their kids.
no, okay. Now, we were talking about this on Clubhouse. Now not getting in Alex Jones territory, but I think there might be something chemical that they are putting in certain foods and certain places where there's city water and stuff like that, that might be messing with people's hormones to do all this LGBT gay crap. I'm noticing this in a lot of the Western world, like Canada, or in the United States, especially over in your cities or your western side of the United States, like Cali, for a high example, because they have a controlled water supply.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really high conspiracy node that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to stress my voice. But there's
There's
one
always
thing
a possibility. There's, like I say, like even though it's far fetched and out there, there's always a possibility.
definitely. Now, I want to throw out this. The child, in this case is the adult, if the step parent, or any parent for this matter, because the adult in this case does not follow said rules, and the adult has a disability and has nowhere else to go, does the parent have the not the authority, right? Because I know they have the authority to do it. Probably not, because of the Disability Act. That might play into a role. But if a child that is now an adult and mentally is capable but needs the parent's home for a place to live, for a place for homing and shelter, does the parent have the right to kick the adult out if they don't follow that strict social media or phone privilege rule, even though they're an adult?
Being that it is their property, their house, yes. Do I think that that's acceptable or that that should be carried out? No. I mean, it's your
Now,
kid. It's. I mean, like, if they fucking like brought over a bunch of hookers and alcohol and weed and shit, and they were partying it up in your house, yeah, kick them out. They fucking deserve it. But if they're like talking to someone you don't like, that's a little shit.
or dating someone that this said person does not like.
Mm-hmm.
Note the other significant other, the woman in this picture, likes him. As he's welcome to her side of the family. But me, looking at me in general spectrum, my Mac, my parents bought because for schooling in future college or training. My phone, I bought. My iPad Pro was bought because of schooling. But under state property, for the state, I own everything, even if it's under my parents' roof. Now, secretly me, my parents fucked up and put my name on our house. So, oopsie. Good luck kicking me out. You have to go to they have to go to court and try to pull my name off the house, and that could take 6 months.
Oof.
Yeah, my parents fucked themselves over, but that's my personal business.
I don't think you would give them a reason to like go.
No, and if they went after me and said, "Oh, you can't talk to Alfonso after 9 o'clock p.m.," I'd be like, "Bitch, who the fuck do you think you are?" I'm 19. I can do as I please.
Mm-hmm.
I respect your house orders. I'm not loud at fucking the 69th hour of the day. Just kidding. 3 o'clock in the morning at dark 30, as some people like to say, which is 30 minutes before sunrise. I respect my parents' privacy. I don't cause commotion. And I'm not a nuisance. So my parents
Yeah,
have
you're not selling drugs in your backyard.
no. Why would I?
You live in like the middle of nowhere, so that wouldn't really be a good place to sell drugs anyway.
Yes, it would. You can get away with it.
Well, you could get away with it, but like it's just not.
Dude, it takes 30 minutes for the police to show up for a domestic case.
Oh, well then, yeah. Hello, Evan.
You could fucking murder someone or shank someone, and the police take about 15 to 30 minutes to show up.
That's the sad but kind of true part of the country life,
But I mean, that's why I have a firearm.
right? That's why guns are very important, especially out there,
What?
because you never know.
I want to in short statements, if the audience, like, some of this may be offensive to some and some may disagree. Either live streaming right now, I want to hear, Luis commented something. I'll get to your comments, Luis. But if you're watching after the stream when this is re-uploaded for this clipping, let me know what your comments are down below. Let me know what you really honestly think. I'll be monitoring comments and stuff like that because I really want to know some people's feedback on it. Mm-hmm. What's your final thoughts on all this, Alfonso? And then I'll read comments or live chats.
I mean, my final thoughts are, your rules, all that I understand, but there's a line. There's just a fine line you don't cross, and that's just kind of it.
And in this picture, this line has been crossed. And I'm being very mutual about this. Like, I'm judging this based on laws. Like state laws for the state that they reside in, but also other states. Let's see. The other thing I was going to... I'm trying to see what else was I going to mention. But that was it, mainly, for the video side of things. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see y'all in a future video/live stream.